Okay, friends, let's move on. I want us to just pick up that theme of the darkness. Because as I said at the beginning, the Vice President and I wanted this theme of hidden treasures to offer hope and expectation about what God might yet do during what are challenging times for us in the world and in the church. But we recognise that wrestling with these notions of hiddenness and darkness and secrets are not easy things, not least because the words themselves, as we've already recognised, can have very negative connotations. They can be words that trigger difficult memories for people. And we need to take great care when we're talking about these things. But of course, the message at the heart of the gospel is that Jesus, the light of the world, came to dispel the darkness. And there are lots of examples in Scripture of where, despite the darkness, amazing things are happening, and we've already been acknowledging that in some of our answers to that question. For example, we could start at the very beginning in Genesis with the story of creation, and there God spoke into the darkness and created the light, drawing rich treasures from what had previously been just a void. In the story of Mary visiting Elizabeth when both women were pregnant, the night sky was lit up by the presence of the angels and so on. In Jesus' own life, we read about him praying in the darkness of the night as he sought guidance from God the Father. In the darkness of Gethsemane, Jesus wrestled with his questions until he was at that point where he felt able to renew his commitment to God's will and purpose for him. And of course, from within the darkness and the hiddenness of the tomb came new life in the resurrected Jesus. Scripture is also full of stories of people who were spoken to by God through dreams and visions whilst they're asleep in the dark of the night. So even when darkness is all around us, when things may look bleak, when life feels dark, as we sang at the beginning, God is still active. God is still at work and seeking to bring light into those circumstances in which we find ourselves, which might feel bleak and perplexing, and all of those words that were in that passage from 2 Corinthians at the start. God is still active and at work, even in those dark places and dark circumstances, wanting to bring light into our circumstances and our experience so that hidden treasure can be revealed. So, go back to your question sheet, and you'll find a couple more questions there, just around this whole sense of darkness and what we can't see. What passages of Scripture speak to you about God being active even when we can't see it? You have to scratch your heads for that, maybe a bit. And what stories from your own life witness to the truth that God shines light into the darkness and reveals hidden treasure? What experience do you have maybe of that in your own life that you might feel able to share with others around you? Don't feel compelled to do that. Some things are very personal to us, aren't they? But if you feel able to encourage others by some stories like that, that would be great, because that would be treasure to others as they hear it. So, just a few more minutes to talk about those two things in your groups again. What passages of Scripture speak to you about God being active in that way? What stories from your own life witness to the truth that God shines light in the darkness? Okay, off you go.